Well, hello. It is Wednesday, and we are wizards, and welcome to this week's Wizard Wednesday. Channeling in through the quantum downs, this is Dotta,
And Bear.
and we've also got Cosmo with us up here today. Cosmo, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, if you want to come up, please raise your hand. Happy to have more folks on stage today because Elf is among the lions and the hyenas, and well, hopefully they don't have goat for dinner. So yeah, we've got so much to talk about today. Yeah, here, come on up, Andy. Come on up, Lorepunk. Hello. Well, we've had a couple of super interesting derivative, well, I don't know what you want to call it, cult content mints this week. The Cucumland mint is still going on. Bear, did you mint yours?
I minted 4 beauties.
Okay.
I should actually share the secret tower. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't wait to get the reveal, and now I have them.
Yeah, I don't know how many I got, 5 or 7. I'm not sure exactly. They were all, horrific, exactly as intended. And yeah, just love seeing those. I also wonder if the Baron Court wants to come up and talk a little bit about the desert bestiary. I thought that those were so interesting. I love, it's no secret that we love the familiars, and I think that this idea that you can kind of like create a collection that's just familiars that you add on to your warrior, I really, really love that. One of the things that I think is that one of the things that showed to me too, it kind of like revisits this idea of like dynamic NFTs, right? And so is this is a question that you and I have been talking a lot about, Bear. We've been talking about as a team is like what is the role for dynamic NFTs going into the future? And we have some like really interesting ideas to present on that pretty soon. But I think that the Baron Court is a great example, right? That like you want to change out your familiar. I think that you have like the bootleg burns by Wise Sam, for example, are super fun. I'll share some of those tweets here in a little while. But I think you see it a lot in our community that we already kind of change our PFP, right? Like the Dota PFP has a different background, Elf PFP, and it's cropped. The Elf PFP has a different background. The One Who Rings is like animated and like flipped to the wrong direction for some reason. Some people use their like walk cycle. So I think this idea of kind of like figuring out a mechanism whereby people can kind of present their token in a way that they want to is like something that's worth exploring.
Yeah, I just think it plays exactly into what we all love doing in the call, and that is like, you can call it playing dress up. You can call it like, even though they're each one is unique of itself, like to personalize them in a way that still respects like the original NFT. I think is really fun, and yeah, the conversations around how we're doing it is really exciting, and it should come to no surprise to everybody that Dota is concocting some really cool sort of mechanics to enable that.
Yes. So, well, I think that one thing, there was a really interesting thread. Bill, I don't know if Bill Gaines is here in this audience or if he's come up on stage before, but Bill, I don't know if you want to come up and talk about like your baked bill mystic. If you don't want to, I can talk about it. One of the things I think is for sure a problem is when projects kind of like take the initiative on their own and change art out from underneath people when they like didn't ask for it or like weren't expecting it, right? And so if you didn't see it, Bill, he actually had a thread this week where he talked about he had an axie that he referred to as baked bill mystic. And effectively, he like, okay, great. Bill says in Discord he's going to come up on stage, but and we'll have him fill in the details. Let's see here. Let's give him a second to come on up. But I think that like really, it's this idea around. For me, I think a big part of dynamic NFTs needs to be one of like consent. And I think that like what that consent is varies a lot, right? For example, like the Great Burning we went over and above in terms of the messaging to tell you, like, hey, by the way, like, you're burning this flame, you're burning this wizard, you might get an undesirable, like, turn back, there's danger here. And like, if you burn a wizard, you 100% understand like the risks and some kind of outcomes. I think that's like completely different from just sort of like updating the art and not telling anyone.
Agreed.
Okay, Bill says he's going to take a minute. Well, we'll come back to it. I mean, I think so. One of the things that we can talk about is the locks, and the sacred flames. So, yeah, I know that a lot of people want to know about that. So, the basic idea with the locks in the sacred flames is that you are going to be able to upgrade your warrior. So, if you have a lock and you hold a sacred flame, then you will be able to burn the two of them and then select a warrior, and then you will be able to upgrade the weapon of that warrior. So that's basically the whole thing. It's going to be amazing. The art looks fantastic, and it will immutably and forever upgrade your warrior both visually and in terms of its properties to get an extremely rare weapon. So there are only 42 locks right now. And well, we won't be issuing more locks from the gate of the seventh realm, though we may issue a small number of golden items sometime in the future. But what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to use the sacred flame. You will come to our website and you will burn your lock and you will burn your sacred flame and pick a warrior and get a really special, very, very rare weapon. And so, this really would probably be kind of our first foray into this area of dynamic NFTs. Sort of unlike the burning of wizards, this will change the metadata of your warrior. It'll present differently in terms of the photo. It'll present differently on OpenSea in terms of the properties. And we're going to see how it goes. It's a very small number, right? There's only 42 locks. I think, one of the things that we think about when we try to do these experiments is like some experiments are for the whole cult, airdrops for everyone. We're for sure going to do some of those. And this one is going to be a little bit more limited. But I do think if you own a sacred flame, of course, this is very interesting to you because it's really our first kind of step saying like, hey, the sacred flames are not just for burning wizards into souls. And so, like, what are the consequences for that? As in terms of like our tokens for our economy, we're going to learn.
I think it's really interesting. It's like I don't even know the number of people that have a lock and a flame in possession. So it'll be interesting to see what people do when you have one or the other, or if you have none and you're just a crazy degen and you want to do it yourself and go purchase them. But I'm so stoked, and uh, Cosmo's on stage right now. He really led the charge with Elf on these upgrades, and I think y'all are going to be really excited. It adds an element that I don't think and we should keep it like a little bit secret under a hat. But it adds a bit of a visual element that we haven't really seen in most of our tokens. So I think hats off to Kaz. He did a great job.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun
and a lot of work.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? Because it's only 42 locks, but the way the NFTs kind of work, we have to draw all of them, every single weapon. So, and then most of the work will never go seen.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
part of the magic too, right? Is that there's like
Yeah.
a lot of this artwork that is getting created that is just like interior in the lab. Zay, you have your hand up. Did you have a question about the golden locks?
Yeah, okay. So since some of the flames are going to be like pushed towards the locks, does that take away from one of ones being minted out from the Souls collection?
Well, I mean, it reduces chances, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, like, does it reduce one of ones from the Souls collection? I think that like there are a certain number of one of ones in the Souls collection still remaining. If no one ever burns them, they'll never be revealed. But I don't think that like I'm not going to give a hard answer on that insofar as like just by the nature of the numbers, I suppose that like there are fewer
Fewer
souls
souls.
that will ever
Yeah.
exist. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dotta.
Yeah, of course. Lorpunk, give your hand up. Hello.
Hi, yeah. I have kind of a lore question about the use of the locks with the sacred flames. I want to know, are you burning the locks or are you melting the locks? Because I have got a bunch of alchemy poems queued up and this is relevant to my interests. Thank you.
In this case, you're melting them. The locks to the gate to the seventh realm are extremely powerful, and really, you need the sacred flame to melt that sort of metal.
Cool. I will get my thinking cap on.
Yeah. Cosmo, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about like some of the artwork. I don't know, or about like what the process has been like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the main thing is that, right? Like, so we have, I think there are 128 total weapons in the collection, which is a lot. It's more than I thought. And we've been as we've been drawing all of these, right? These new variants, they're all completely custom artwork, and there's also some sprinkled surprises in there that I think we don't want to talk about yet, but I'm excited to see what people think about it. And yeah, it's just that thing, right? That to me is kind of magical in a way because like most of the most of them will never be seen because we're only doing 42. There's only 42 locks, but that kind of makes it more mystical.
Yeah, and I don't mind sharing a little bit of the dynamics, which is just this idea that one of the things that you might remember with the locks is that they also have a spell encoded within them. And there are also two types of locks. There are both the golden locks and the quantum locks. And so, uh, you know, it's not like us to kind of leave anything like that on the floor. And so the lock that's used and even the spell that we use to create that lock all go into creating the golden weapon on the other side. And so Shark Child was asking in Discord, I think, saying, does each lock burn make a one out of one weapon? And I think the answer there is not necessarily insofar as if you used the same color lock with the same spell and the same weapon, then you would still they wouldn't be different. They would be that you would end up with the same weapon. So, I think like I like to do, the choices of your peers affect the rarity of your own token. Yeah, I don't know. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, I want to say I think even if we have a lot of artwork kind of like unseen, I think it's a pretty cool concept. For me, it reminds me a lot of I like looking at like data mines for games, and that you get to see a lot of stuff behind the scene, like artwork that never made it into the final game, and it's like stuff that the average player honestly would never even be able to see if not for data miners digging into there and pulling those graphic data out, and you get to see like sometimes the workflow of like a lot of developers like transitions through different builds of the game and stuff. So I think it's cool that we have that kind of like hidden things, and maybe not immediately, maybe even like a year or two down the line, whatever we decide, like, hey, we'll release some snippets of that artwork never made in, and it can kind of be like a cutting room floor kind of deal where it's like this is stuff that never made it into a collection, but you can kind of like get glimpses of some of this process behind the scenes that happened.
I love it. And SPZ asks, Doda, what happens to souls when flames are used for locks? Well, nothing happens to the souls that exist. But yeah, like we mentioned earlier, it basically just means that there will be fewer souls, fewer potential souls. That said, I think in my mind, part of this process is I mentioned this in sales chat months ago, which is this idea that like the fact that flames kind of reached a let's see, like a fixed point where people were like, ah, no, I'm not going to burn any more souls anymore. I take that as like a personal challenge. So I think that it's there are a lot of people who are just kind of sitting on their flames, and I'm very interested in making it more and more tempting for folks to burn all of the sacred flames. It's my goal for Forgotten Runes that 100% of the flames get burned. So we'll
Well,
see.
we
We'll
have
see how
that
that
one
goes.
that's stuck in a contract though. So 99.99%
There we
at
go.
the very most.
Yeah. I think it's an upgradable contract. It might be upgradable, so maybe we can get it someday.
That would be hilarious. Actually, if you did get it, it would be cool if you actually did like a contest or something for it, if you were able to get it reflected
Oh,
back to you.
yeah, we should figure that out.
The other thing I wanted to say was, like some comments here is like it feels like a pretty like exclusive event, and yes, there's only 42 locks and there's only so many flames left, but I think for us, it's all of these things work towards just like building story and world, and so and I mean, Dota mentioned at the top, it's like some things will like when you put something out there like the locks, you have to sort of not wrap up the story, but you have to like commit to um, putting a reason out there, right? And so sure, some like the locks event will be for a small number of people, but I think the stories that come out of it go far beyond just the people who touch and upgrade their weapons. And of course, we have plenty of other collections that are very large that we are serving and plan to serve even more stuff up for. So for us, it's a balance, and no matter what, it's all about just like building out that story so those stories can play out, in our Discord, on Twitter, in the comic book, in the show, and in the games and all that stuff. But it doesn't.
Right.
But it doesn't go. It's not beyond us that like there's only so many people that can participate.
Right. Yeah. You're alluding to the fact that it's just like such a small number of people that actually have the locks. And I think, yeah, just to double down on that, which is one, I do think that it affects all flame holders indirectly, and then even all souls holders indirectly as well. Because like the fewer flames there are, the better that is for people who own flames, and the fewer flames there are, the more valuable souls are by kind of like supply and demand. And so I think it has a broader effect, though it's more fun to have one. And then secondarily, I think the things that our team has been planning over the next few months include a lot broader drops. I do think that we want to try to kind of design drops so that more people can be involved rather than just like 50 people or whatever, as a rule. But that said, once we drop a token, I think the commitment is like it exists. We're going to use it for something. So there'll be more. There'll be more of that. Zay, you've got your hand up.
All right. I was wondering, are these weapons? Are you going to be able to unwrap them from your warrior? Because I listened to this podcast where we talk about the apex of NFTs and what they potentially could be. And once we reach this level of like gaming and NFTs, like influencers will be like trading weapons back and forth to defeat a final boss. And if he's holding your warrior's like weapon to do that, it could potentially develop lore behind it and possibly gain value. So yeah, I was just wondering, is it possible to unwrap these weapons from the warriors to where it's like interoperable and a transferable item?
So like we're not assigning any sort of stats to these weapons, right? Like this is like a rarity and a cosmetic effect on your token. I think that like any game that kind of uses Forgotten Runes tokens is going to have to create mechanics that like are in align with what makes their game work. So like the most obvious one being like the Runiverse game, right? And so, but there will be other games as well that kind of want to use the traits as sort of a starting point for your weapon. So um, no, these weapons aren't like weapons as items. That said, this idea around let's call them like RPG primitives as like playing a role in our ecosystem is something that I've been just like obsessing over lately. And so, Mooncats has a really interesting system where they basically use this standard. So you know how like ERC20 is like tokens, ERC721 is NFTs. There's another standard called ERC998 where it's around NFTs owning other NFTs. If you've seen kind of like the Mooncat store where you can like decorate your Mooncat and mint, like, you know, you can mint like a little ball of yarn for your Mooncat and then like
yeah, that seems to be like what a lot of projects are doing right now is they're making like accessories for their PFPs and stuff like that. But yeah, continue.
oh man, my like headphones discontinued. My headphones disconnected. Yeah, so I think that I would do Mooncats right now, but I think that I love that idea.
I think I recall earlier on, like months ago, that we kind of like threw around the idea of like having like an inventory of such for your wizard. That this kind of like would coincide with that. Like you had like your wizard bag attached to your wizard, and then it would have like certain items in it. So I think that may be like a cool realm to potentially go through, but I'm not sure how upgradable that would be. Like if that can actually just attach to our current tokens, or if they would have to just kind of migration. I don't think a migration would be a good idea, by the way. Just kind of saying. Not sure the mechanics of how that can be implemented.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yes, I think that like too this idea that sort of your I don't feel like the UIs for assigning inventory to your token are very good. Like, how do you?
Right. I feel that too.
And so it's almost easier to just own the token in your like regular account, like as your with your regular ETH account, than to like assign ownership.
I think you got that out there. But yeah, I agree with that too. I think it's not very intuitive right now. It's kind of like complicated. So I agree that it's probably better to have it like something more in your account. But it's a cool idea to have, I guess, for maybe down the line if there's like another token that comes out, and like if the user experience kind of like expands so that way it's a bit easier to manage that kind of stuff, then that may be cool.
Yeah, we're definitely still early. There'll definitely be more standards in the future.
100%. I see that Mr. Bill has his hand up.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Just a thought on the whole character inventory type situation. What if they were soul-bound tokens?
Yeah, I was considering that too.
You could totally do it that way.
100%.
I think
yeah, because then you could implement like a soul-bound token that has like whatever sort of inventory like protocol implemented that you need. Sorry, Matto, you were going to say something. Did I interrupt you?
Oh no, you're pretty much you said exactly what I was going to say. That you can just have like a pouch, soul-bound pouch that would be attached to your wizard, and that would be what your inventory would be able to utilize.
I wanted to call it pouch, but Elf told me he didn't like that name. He thought it sounded too much like sack.
Well, we did have in the treasure trove. We had Jiro give the okay for the Chad sack.
Yeah, exactly. I thought pouch was a good name.
Back holding.
So, Bill, tell us about your Baked Bill, your Mystic Axie. Maybe give us some context because I actually don't play it.
So, a Mystic Axie was one of these things that you would roll for because they basically sold the first like 4,400 Axies, and when you would roll for it, there was a certain chance that it would get a Mystic trait. And so those are it. Like those traits will never be introduced to the ecosystem again. And they were supposed to be like really special. Basically, there's only like 1,100 of them. And there's like 12 million Axies or something. So basically in the Axie world, like the number of Axies is always going to inflate. And the collector's Axies are basically like that's if you want to put money into collecting something, the only thing of value is either tokens in that ecosystem or collectors' axes. And so I had bought this one because I had made a bunch of money off of Axie, and I really wanted to like invest back into the ecosystem. And so I bought this one, and he had these like stoned eyes and these wings, and it looked like he was sitting on a little cloud. And like that was the original artwork, but they recently released a new game, and they updated all of the artwork with the game. And so unfortunately my Axie kind of looks scuffed now. And it's just really interesting. Like I needed some liquidity for something, and my first thought was to sell that because I just didn't care about it anymore, which is like not something that I would expect, because I had bought that with the intention of holding it for several years. And it costs a lot of money too. It costs like 26 ether, and that's not any small chunk of change. So anyway, they changed the art, and it looks kind of bad in my opinion. And it might be more of a warning to other project creators and other people who want to experiment with these kind of dynamic NFTs, because you don't want the person to be able to change it too much, in the sense that they don't have what they initially purchased for their own collection and enjoyment.
Yeah, and I think what was interesting about that is that you showed off that you actually commissioned a lot of artwork for that Axie. So like you obviously were like attached to it. It's not like it's just something you just bought for the sense of like, you know, you wanted to have a cool Axie. You resonated with it, and it's, for me, I felt like it was heartbreaking to see that they changed the art of it so much that it didn't even really resemble what was all the wonderful artwork that you commissioned for it anymore, really.
Yeah, it kind of looks pretty it looks pretty janky. The artist for Axie did tell me that they will be updating the art to like an animated like graphic. And so the mystic part that got kind of like janky is going to get upgraded. So I don't know, that might look kind of cool. We'll see. At this point, I don't really care. I'm just like, it's unfortunate.
In a way, do you feel rugged?
Yeah, I mean, that's that might be one way of putting it. They definitely like changed the appearance like a lot. But on the other hand, like that's also their terms of service. Like Axie is very like Web 2.5. Like I think they really try to make a stepping stone into what Web3 gaming can be, but they wouldn't have been able to grow to such a large user base and to be so successful without being kind of overarching on everything, including their IP. So it is what it is. There's not anything that I can do about it other than just be like, hey, when is this gonna get updated? Because it doesn't look nearly as cool as these other like new collectors Axies that you're releasing.
Right. Yeah, interesting. I think, like you said, that's a cautionary tale for for creators updating the artwork. So I think if you choose to upgrade your warrior by burning a lock in a flame, it is going to upgrade the art of your warrior. And that art was created by Cosmo. So if you hate it, you have to track down Cosmo.
Great.
Wow, put it on the firing line. Jeez.
But
Never coming
at
up
least
in Wednesday
with this, it's more of a choice. With this, it's
Cosmo,
more
I
of a
dare you
choice
to show
about.
up at the next IRL event.
Somebody asked what happens if your warrior doesn't have a weapon, and the answer is you can't upgrade their weapons because that's just you have to have a warrior with a weapon.
You sure there's no secret? Like if you put when you put a familiarless wizard through the flame, nothing magically appears.
No, not at this time.
Cool. That's actually good confirmation. I could see somebody trying to do that.
Yeah, I think we don't even let them, right?
Yeah, we won't let you. Yeah. We won't let you.
Now, when playing with the sacred flame, there's this aspect of chaos magic to it, and that's how we ended up with desirables in the first burn. Now, is there any kind of mechanic where there will be undesirables or strange things happening with this go around? I don't know if you
Not
guys
in
have
this case.
okay.
No, not in this case. There's no luck aspect to this. I mean, there's so few of them.
That makes sense.
Another thing on this idea of like creators changing things out from under their holders also happens with IP rights, right? So
Jump in, crazy. You're not doing it.
Here we gotta mute you, Zay. So then, one of the super interesting things that was released today was A16Z Crypto released their NFT licenses, which are they call them like their can't be evil IP rights. I've had some time to read through them today. They're super interesting. One of the cool things about it is they talk about the idea of creators basically where it's not Creative Commons, where the creators sort of abdicate their rights to the IP, but rather they provide kind of a protection for collectors, which says like we can't kind of take away the right that we've given you. And I think that's super interesting. Definitely worth like looking into more carefully because I think that that's been actually a conversation that I've had with many people this week, including our very own RYF. Who is up here on stage. Hello.
Hello. How's everyone doing today?
Oh, better once I talk to you.
I appreciate that. What's going on?
So you've been sharing just some incredible art. Well, before we even get to that, you shared a really good thread this week that first off opened with the House of RYF, which looked like a really fun place to be. If you haven't seen it, I shared the thread up in the Twitter space, and you give this analogy of the like liquidity black hole thesis, and then bring it over to like a creative black hole thesis. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit for like the people who are not as initiated around DeFi. Could you explain a little bit about like the liquidity black hole thesis?
Yeah, definitely. So, throughout the various DeFi seasons, there have been a lot of fans of various protocols describing them as black holes for liquidity. And what they usually mean by that is the protocols are designed in such a way, whether it depends on the underlying protocol or incentives with liquidity mining, but the idea is that these pieces often work together to create a like a feedback loop and a virtuous cycle where more people using the platform create more fees, and more fees create deeper liquidity, which makes more people want to use these platforms. For example, this is the design behind like Thorchain, the cross-chain decentralized exchange. And the idea is then as it becomes deeper, more people want to use it, which creates more fees. And then the pool keeps getting deeper and deeper because more people deposit liquidity in it. So it creates this, at least in theory, this virtuous cycle. And so, similarly, as more and more people, start creating stories and other endeavors with their Forgotten Runes wizards, both because it inspires some creative people, it makes more competitive folks want to kind of remain at the forefront as far as what they're building, and then as the one who rings pointed out afterwards, when people make their own stories around their characters, it makes them more valuable, which then incentivizes Magic Machine or whoever else is building in the ecosystem to plug those stories into their own experiences, which then brings in larger audiences and brings in capital and more value to those stories. And so I believe that this can similarly create positive feedback loops, and this creativity can compound. And so it hopefully won't grow linearly, but the rate of creativity will hopefully accelerate in what eventually becomes an exponential growth curve. That's the thesis in a nutshell.
I love that. Like, I was just talking to Bear this morning. Bear and I were talking about it, and it's and I was just repeating this idea that I've said before, which is like, I want to commission like every artist on Twitter to create a piece of artwork for Forgotten Runes. And like, really what I want is that like every artist in the world like creates a piece for Forgotten Runes. And I think it's this idea that like kind of the more people who sort of have these characters in this world planted in their mind, like the stronger we all become. And from like the lowest to the highest too. Like my daughter, she's 9, and she's entered the Summer Kids contest, and she posted this picture this morning, which I posted for her, of this picture of a wizard, Wise Sam, and like the Cucumber Dog and the Secret Tower, and she just sat. And one of the things I love about this community is that they're like so encouraging, where like she posts something, and then Sammy Kitty and Tanya and Emma all like made these really specific comments about like pieces that they loved about. They're like, oh, I love the skull, oh, I love the Cucumber Dog or whatever. And she was just beaming seeing those like comments. And I think that's something that I love about this community, is that like when you create a piece of art, you're not creating it in isolation, but there's like a built-in community that like loves to see what you built, because we're like all doing it together. So yeah, I agree with your thesis, and I love it. So, okay, so tell us. Do you want to tell us more about kind of this beautiful artwork that you've been sharing?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, unfortunately, I can't give away anything quite too revealing yet, but a little bit more information about that. That art is from one of my business partners. If you guys have seen some of the graphic novel teasers I've shared, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what we're working on. The whole project was conceptualized going back almost a year, and ground broke on the larger, more ambitious component of it back in March. So we've been working on that for about 6 months now. Besides him, that other element also has a very good artist working on it, among others who've been very successful in their fields, and at the forefront of other paradigm shifts in the entertainment space. The project has this probably isn't anything new.
This is I've never heard someone walk on eggshells so softly.
Well, I'd love to say more. As you know, I hate to keep people guessing, but now's not the right time. But I hope to have something tangible out in the next couple of months, and there will be more reveals in the coming weeks. That's as much as I can say, but I think people will be pretty happy, and other wizard holders who want to be part of the journey will have every opportunity to join us and be a part of it.
Well,
so awesome.
I absolutely love everything you've been sharing, and both from the artwork and the threads. And so, yeah, I know you're not ready to spill all the beans yet, but I appreciate you coming up here and sharing what you have already.
Yeah, I appreciate you, calling on me to drop a few more breadcrumbs. Before I go, I just wanted to announce that the second window for the Ministry of Art is opening tomorrow. The window will be from the 1st of September to the 30th. It'll have the same rules as the first window, 10 ETH in total, 2 ETH cap per applicant. And going forward, we'll probably have the ministry windows open and close at the beginning and end of months, just for simplicity. So get those applications in the next 4 weeks.
Thanks, RYF.
Incredible. Thank you. Where do people go to put in the application?
We have a link to the Google form on the Ministry of Art's Notion page. We'd like to move to something else like Typeform that won't require Gmail accounts in the future, which will hopefully be on the agenda once the legal priorities are squared away for the council.
All right. And just to reiterate to everybody, this is for if you have pieces that you want to commission. So going back to like what Dotta said about having more artists to like work for Forgotten Runes, we are incentivizing if you have any artists that you want to make pieces for you, you can put in a request through us, and if as long as it reaches that, as long as you keep your requests under that cap, we'll look through it and we'll see what we can grant. And hopefully get more artwork. This is all just meant to have more art made for the universe.
Amazing.
Hey, Meeple Dead here. If I can dive in,
please.
We've got the I want to say the last art project call out that the House of Wizards did, encouraging writers to come, non-community members to write something in the Runeverse, was super, super fun. And what a great initiative that was. We talk about bringing new people in. Oh my God, what an amazing tool to bring people in is literally pay them to participate, and have a referral program where community members are incentivized to go get artists and encourage them to participate. So I had two of my referrals won, which is pretty exciting. So it's really exciting to see them win that. So awesome incentive project. Love that one. Let's do more. While we're talking about physical objects being created and building stuff, I'll give a quick treasure trove update. We've been doing this fundraiser for a week. It's been really exciting. It closes in about 6 hours at midnight tonight, Eastern Standard Time. So in 6 hours, that fundraiser will close. That's up on the sushi page. I'll post the links in the Discord, or you can find it on the meepledad.eth mirror page or the Twitter and all that as well. We've had a bunch of fun, exciting stuff get unlocked because we had so many really powerful commitments from larger community members that it did this funny thing where, even though we haven't reached our fundraising goal just yet, the size and the magnitude of some of these donations have unlocked some of the items that I thought were only going to be able to be unlocked if we hit these crazy stretch goals. So we've now unlocked the Sammy Kitty Baron secret merch item, which I will not spill the beans on just yet.
Oh, I'm glad you told me a secret. I almost mentioned it.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't. Yes, they are. Yeah, they are cooking up all kinds of fire. We've unlocked the Gigas Chad dice bag, the Chad sack, for everyone who needs somewhere to carry their dice around in, and the polyhedral dice sets. So we've unlocked a bunch of stuff, and we've been able, because of the way economies of scale works, every single contributor now gets a double box. So everyone gets literally twice as much stuff. Yeah, one for you and one to gift. So definitely, you're literally getting twice as much, which is really cool. Because the whole point of this box is that it is this Trojan horse tool that you can use to bring non-community members into the community. All these games, all these activities, they're all fun, even if you've never heard of an NFT or never come to a Wizard Wednesday. It's all good. They're all games that are just going to get people interested in what's going on here. So want to say big thank yous to everybody, including Magic Machine, that made some generous contributions. So
Can you enumerate for us one more time what's inside the box? Now that folks have 64 hours before it closes.
Amazing. Yes, I would love to. So we have three main items. We have the collectible. Four main items. We have the collectible wizard trading cards that are just fun, cool trading cards. This is number one, and there's going to be a set number one, and there's going to be a ton of wizards, warriors, souls, even a few spawn from the collection in there, and this means that we're going to have a ton of fun with cards. We're also having this wizard card deck that I've designed, that artist has done this gorgeous artwork for. And this is sort of like a spin on the regular traditional deck of 52 cards. This is the wizard deck of 77 cards, has all 7 colors, has, instead of jacks and queens and kings, it has wizards and warriors and souls and beasts. And this is sort of a tool that you can use to play traditional card games or make up new card games. I have a few that will have rules included, but it's sort of a tool to sort of get creative and build your own stuff. Then we've got Dr. Poplowski's board game, the Spell Runes sort of retro board game, super fun. And that's a super fun little push your luck dice game that has you sort of playing Yahtzee. It's really fun and simple. And then we've also got Give a Hoot and his Runes TCG online game. We've got a physical copy of that in there for you to get started with, so you can play physical Runes TCG. And that will come with some bonuses for the donor wallets. We'll get some things unlocked once the Runes game actually goes live. You'll get some digital copies as well, which is really fun. And then we have a bunch of other fun little knickknacks. Got the Morons bottle opener. We've got, oh man, I can't even remember. There's so much cool stuff. Lore Punk is doing some poems for the top contributors. The list goes on and on. I'm going to post because I don't want to drown everybody out here, but I'm going to post in the Discord just a link to the full page again so people can browse and have fun. We can't wait. And there will be, I've had a bunch of people ask, if you need a PayPal solution, just DM me on Twitter. We can do sort of old-fashioned Web 2 money exchanges as well. I've got systems set up for that now that are compliant and easy to use, so we can do a PayPal or whatever also. So thanks so much.
Okay, great. All right, yeah, thank you. Hey, Lore Punk.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I got a song for the end of the night, but I also had a little bit of a standard Wizard Wednesday update, because our song, me and Sorcerer Ilias of the Fae's song, Chimera, is now up on the Forgotten Runes YouTube. And we've heard back today from Ryan Zurer, who is the principal of Dialectic, and he absolutely loves the song. So, if people want to have a look at that, I will post that in the posts on this page just now. And I was wondering if I could talk about the EP a little bit.
I would love it.
Sure.
So Sorcerer Ilias and I, also known as SPZ in the Discord, have 5 songs that we want to put together as an EP, which is an extended play. It's somewhere between a single and an album. And it really ties back to what RetiredYeildFarmer was saying about making content that appeals to the broader audience and just expanding the wealth for everybody. The amazing work that the comic book is doing, sort of bringing people from comic fandom into Forgotten Runes, Sorcerer Ilias and I want to do with music. So we have this really cool song that's the first one for the album. It's Chaos Chimera, and it's really mainstream rock music that has some drama to it, that has some of the flavor of our community to it. But people who don't even know what an NFT is might want to listen to it. We will be proposing a proposal to the DAO once the pause for legal stuff is over, and we want to sell the IP of this album to the DAO and the community. We're looking for match funding from people, even if it's just like a quarter of an ETH or half an ETH or even less. If you want to be part of it, we'd love to have you. And the point is that we have this music as a tool. It could be on television shows, it could be used for video games, it can be used for anything. It becomes a resource of the community. And we just 100% are super excited by ideas like what RYF is saying, and we just want it to be part of the puzzle, part of the community. So yeah, if you're interested in maybe chucking some match funding in for the DAO proposal, you can talk to me or you can talk to Tad in the Discord, who is really kindly, helping us with this. So, yeah, we're really excited, and I'm really excited because Forgotten Runes has opened up to me my music again, which is something I thought was lost to me for many years. And I'm just so grateful to be able to write songs for folks. I've got a new one for tonight. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. And thanks for letting me blather on.
We love it. I love your songs. I think that music. I love music so much. I play and I love hearing your songs. And I think there's been like two moments that you brought to the cult where I knew we had something special. One would have been like very, very early on, like probably the week of launch. I think you replied with a poem to one of our tweets. We might have even been before we launched, to be honest.
Yeah, it was Claire Silver.
Claire Silver's Crow, and I remember just going to my wife, to Miss Dotta, and I was like, we posted a picture of this wizard, and someone wrote a poem about it, and it was just this magical moment of like, oh, we have something here. And then I remember the first time on Wizard Wednesday, I told someone, I told them, yeah, we're doing a Twitter space and we're going to have a poetry reading. And they like chuckled because that felt like so novel that someone would write a poem. Now, of course, it feels just like, something we do every week. And so I just like really appreciate you bringing your creativity, both in poetry and then now in song, to the cult. It's just always special. So, I think this is actually all I really have for Wizard Wednesday today. So I would actually love to hear your song now, unless Bear or Cosmo, you have anything you want to add, Matto?
Not really. I mean, there was one thing I saw someone asking in the Secret Tower about updates on the television show.
Oh yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, TV shows are pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we are working with Derek, our writer, Derek Kolstad, on scripts, on breaking stories, looking at characters to bring forward, in the foreground, in the background, the general arcs and themes of season one. And I know we've gushed about him plenty on these Twitter spaces, but he's just such a pleasure to work with. What a professional. And really, I think one of the best parts is that he really looks to us to make sure, as does all these cult initiatives, to make sure that he's respecting sort of the bounds and the rules of the world. And so it's just been such a great collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And so it's just that's moving, and I think there's hopefully we'll have a couple sort of larger updates, announcements around the show, hopefully in the near future. But until then, just know that we're crafting this story behind the scenes, and just excitement can't even sort of describe how we're all feeling.
I forget if we mentioned the like switching to 30 minutes. I don't know if we've talked about that, or
Oh,
if you could talk about that now. I don't know that we've talked about it on Wizard Wednesday.
no, I don't think so. Originally we selfishly wanted to do make as much content as possible. So like, what is the longest possible episode we could make, and that was like, we budgeted out at around 60 minutes. What's interesting is, as we have our conversations with distributors, they're anime, and I mean, I know this because I watch it myself, and I'm sure many of you do too. But a lot of even the anime shows and the more dramatic animated shows are half hours, not 60 minutes. Or like, when I say half hour, I mean like, anywhere from like 22 minutes to 30 minutes. It's not like a hard minute count. So that is a shift. So that now we are making 30-minute episodes, and there's some advantages to this. I think it allows us to really concentrate on the larger themes, and allows us to potentially make more episodes also. So it was on one hand, I was kind of bummed that we weren't going to make longer episodes, but on the other hand, it's very important that we are developing a show that fits into sort of the structure or confines of these distributors and streamers. So
Right.
yeah.
Like, one of the reasons that we thought about doing a shorter show was that it was cheaper. And it was like, well, the bar is a little bit lower in terms of just like paying for all of it. But it's like, but we still want to do the best show possible. Like, that wasn't the only reason, right? We were just like, well, it doesn't matter if it's cheaper. We want it to be the best. But then as we started talking to kind of like industry people, they're like, no, like doing uh, like a 27-minute show, 30-minute show is actually better. That's what they're more likely to buy. It fits better in with what they're buying, and it also even opens up potentially, like, they call them like terrestrial buyers, which would be like regular TV, for example. And so the yeah, so when we kind of heard that, we really were like, oh, maybe we should do half-hour shows. And so yeah, so I think we're gonna do half hour, and it's we're
Yeah.
excited about that because it actually makes like everything just more likely, right? Half-hour show is half as cheap as an hour show, which means a buyer only has to pay half as much, right? And so we can still do everything we want to
Yeah.
do.
So yeah, so we'll have more to share about that sooner than later.
Cool. All right. Well, Cosmo, did you want to say something?
Nope. No, I'm all
Oh,
done. Love you all.
yeah. All right. Well, Lore Punk, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I thought I wanted to write a song about what it means to be a warrior. And I just finished this one today, and I thought I would share it with you. I pray to the Lord, and one day he gave me a mighty sword, and I picked up and held. Took years till I knew, told me to defend and thrust and block, and never let go to the end. And I learned to fight is to pray. Oh, every single day. Pick up and exercise your strength and your wit and your eyes, and learn how to say there is a light that shines and never goes out. There is a light that shines and never goes out. There is a light that shines and never goes out. Though the leaves bleed and break across the sea. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And I wonder why I have never felt this way before. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wizards cry for our heads, all panoplied in green and blue and red. They call us to march. All welcome, sword and horse, stood in our ranks and ranging toward the course until we are dead. But recall, sometimes a hero wins it all, and though to the path of honor you might go, there is a light that shines and never goes out. There is a light that shines and never goes out. There is a light that shines and never goes out. Though the leaves bleed and break across the sea. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And I wonder why I've never felt this way before. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Well, this has been Wizard Wednesday. This has been Dotta, Bear Snake, Cosmo, Lorepunk, Bill Gaines, Matazuki, Zayla Soul, Tanya Del Rio, Baron Von Fancy, channeling out from the Quantum Downs. Good night, everybody.
Magic.
Magic.
Yeah.
Good night.